Hi guys. Hopefully yesterday you finished with giving your paint set a try and tried out some of the techniques in the video from yesterday. So, and then remember, I'm using the sketchbook paper. So this is the paper that is folded in half. It's a little bit bigger and not these little like postcard papers. We're going to use these postcard papers in a couple weeks when we do landscape painting. So don't use these now. You'll be wasting paper that you need for something else. Use the bigger sheets of folded up paper. I showed you this yesterday, but I'm on the back side of my like sketchbook or artist journal page from last week. Today, if you didn't finish the techniques from yesterday, go ahead and give those a try. But today what I have for you is, or are some, I'll call them bonus techniques. You're going to have to gather some supplies. So, one, you're going to need a paper towel. So I'm just going to, a tissue should work, like a napkin from Burger King or something would be great. Some salt from your kitchen. So you can see I have a little bit of salt. If you have waxed paper in your kitchen, so this is waxed paper, and plastic wrap, plastic like cub, like a plastic grocery bag, a plastic bag from a shop would work. And the last thing is some alcohol. Rubbing alcohol. So this is from like my first aid kit in my bathroom. And I'm going to dump a little bit into a smaller container that I happen to have here in my studio at home. Another thing that you can grab if you have one is a white color crayon, So go ahead and gather those supplies. Those are the things that you'll need for the bonus techniques in our watercolor stuff. So you can see that I have made 6 squares again on my sheet on the other half from yesterday. I'm going to put water in a couple of the colors that I'm going to use today, just like I did yesterday, just to kind of wake those colors up. I'm also going to put a little water on this leftover paint from yesterday. All of the paint that gets left up in the top of your tray, like this, is still perfectly good paint. So I don't wash my paint sets off very often. So I can show you, you know, like one of my messy paint sets here. And you can see I have just kind of paint every place because all of that is still good paint and I don't want to waste the paint that I have. So a couple of the, like I said, bonus techniques. One we're going to use quite a bit when we do landscapes is I'm going to go back to this idea of a graded wash. So I'm going to take my blue and I'm going to start at the top with some darker blue color. I'm going to clean my paintbrush out, and this is a review from yesterday. I'm going to add water and pull that water down so that my wash lightens up. And now while my paint is wet, what I'm going to do is something called a paper towel lift off. So I'm going to use a paper towel and I'm going to kind of wrangle it into these weird wrinkly shapes. And the weird wrinkly shapes, I'm just going to press very lightly down into the paint. Lightly or firmly enough that I start to lift some paint off, but not so hard that I like lose the texture of the paper towel. You will notice that this, and now I'm going to go back and just pull off a little bit of extra. And this gives us the appearance of some clouds. I can go back now and I can paint a little bit around some of these lighter spots or the spots that I made and just kind of increase that kind of cloudy sensation. So when we do landscapes, this is how we will make a cloudy, cloudy sky. So you can see I'm just kind of bumping a little bit of blue paint back in between some of my cloud bumps that came from my paper towel. So cloudy sky using a paper towel, pretty slick. Next, I'm gonna have my salt handy. The salt technique is one that I really won't see the final effect of until it's dry. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna practice the wet into wet wash. So I'm gonna put some water on my sheet. And I'm going to grab some different colors of paint and I'm going to let them mix together. You can see I have some blue and some purple. I'm going to fill my square here. And you can see I've got a lot of wet, juicy color. Most of these bonus techniques only work really great if your paint is watery enough. So you got to make sure that you're using, it is watercolor after all, right? So you want to make sure that you're using enough water so that your paint will like kind of blend and smear together. Blending and smearing by tipping my paper. Dried my paintbrush off a little bit. I'm just going to suck up a little bit of this extra water. And now what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of a sprinkle of some salt. Not a lot of salt. Like I don't want to have there be salty salt every place. Just a little bit of salt. What happens is that the salt is a desiccant and it will suck up the water in the pigment and make kind of an interesting technique. It works good like if you're painting a beach. It'll give you a sandy effect. It will give you kind of a puckered effect like on the surface of an orange. It can give you kind of a starry effect. So... and like I said, the effect will not be fully visible until that's dry, so we're just going to leave that alone. Next, I am going to grab my alcohol. And for the alcohol, I'm going to use the opposite side of my paintbrush from the bristles. I'll show you why here in a second. And I'm going to practice again my wet into wet. So I'm going to start here with some purple. Making sure that it's juicy enough, right? Juicy, juicy purple. I am going to grab some equally juicy red. I didn't put water on my red. It's not very cooperative right now. And now I'm going to grab some blue as well. Blue, blue. And you can see each time I'm kind of just bumping the color before so that they combine with each other. A little more paint. And now what I'm going to do, and this is another one, like I said, the paint has to be wet. I'm going to take the handle end of my paintbrush and I'm just gonna drip or tap it down into the paint. So you could, if you have an old toothbrush or something you can splatter with, but you can see the rubbing alcohol makes these really cool marks in the paint. So it's kind of an interesting effect. These little craters that open up in the paint as it gets pushed aside by the alcohol. Kind of a fun, just sort of an interesting, spacey sort of effect. So that one is the alcohol. And like I said, that was rubbing alcohol from like your first aid kit maybe at home. And then remember, these are like if you don't have something, don't worry about it. Give a try with the ones you have. Okay, the next one is plastic wrap. And then the plastic wrap and the wax paper are ones that have to dry first. And so before the effect is like kind of finalized. So it won't be until like later today or tomorrow morning. So you just have to find a place that your sketchbook can kind of sit for a bit or your paper can sit for a bit before kind of seeing what the finished result will be. Again, I'm going to use more than one color Kind of liking this purple and red combo. I'm gonna make sure that it's juicy enough color so that it kind of mixes and mashes together on the page. Oh, the red and the purple mixed together is a nice color. Add some blue. And again, each time I'm adding the new color and I'm just sort of bumping it into the color that was there beforehand. And now what I'm going to do is take my little chunk of plastic wrap or plastic bag, whatever I have, and I'm just going to simply stick it down in my paint, wrinkles and all. And that's it. I'm just going to let it dry until tomorrow. Now I am going to do a similar thing where I'm going to mix more than one color of paint together. To make another wet into wet mix. And I have my wax paper available. So I've ripped off this little chunk of wax paper and I am going to do the same as I did up here. So I'm going to take, I think I'm going to start with a little bit different color. I'm going to start with my red, which I have gotten messy with some purple. So I'm going to kind of try to clean that off a little bit. And now I'm going to add a little blue. So you can see each time I'm kind of experimenting with the colors. I have enough paint and enough water so that they're kind of like, I can see that the paint colors are mixing on their own. If my paint colors are not mixing on their own without me bumping them, it's kind of a sign that I don't have enough water in my paint. I can also kind of splatter with my paintbrush. Little speckles in there. Super fun. And those speckles will spread because the paint is wet. And now I have this little section of wax paper, and all I'm going to do, same as up top, I'm just going to lay it down in the paint and just let it dry. That's done until it's dry. Lastly, if you have a white color crayon, there is no such thing as white watercolor. And so when we want areas to be white, we have to either lift them out of the paint like I did for the clouds, or we have to not paint there, okay? One sort of trick is that if you have a white color crayon, you can color something in a painting that you know you want to be white. And it will kind of protect the surface of your paper. So I am going to go ahead and just draw really a bit of a design on here. And it's hard to see because it's white color crayon on white paper. So I'm going to use this nice dark purple color that I've been using. And now what I'm going to do is just paint over the top, and you will see, like magic, the paint will not stick to that color crayon that's down. So, you know, if you're painting like white anything, and you know that you want a section of your paper to stay really white, a white color crayon is definitely the best kind of way to protect your sheet. So hopefully you found this informative and fun, and hopefully you can find a couple of these supplies to kind of give all of them a shot in your sketchbook. So, and yeah, have fun experimenting with your watercolor.